Hello and welcome to an Aquint Gymnasium production of jQuery building blocks. 5 ways to cut your web development time in half. My name's Dave Porter. I'm a web developer here in sunny Boston, Massachusetts. I've been doing this for about 10 years, so that's since back before the dawn of jQuery. I've got plenty of stories from the good old days that I'm sure I'll tell you. I'm currently spending most of my time doing rich web application work with Sprout Core, which is a rich web application development framework. It's very powerful, and it's built on top of jQuery. You can visit my website at dcporter.net. As of this recording, that is half built at best. Or you can follow me on Twitter at DaveCPorter. This course is a practical introduction to jQuery for folks who are familiar with the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm assuming that this is not your first time behind the keyboard, that you are familiar with the big 3 web technologies, but that you're new to jQuery and that you're looking to learn to do more interesting things. You're looking to learn to do them faster and you want to learn it quickly. So with those things in mind, over the course of the next 6 lessons, I'm going to teach you how to use jQuery. I'm going to teach you 5 specific techniques for getting your projects into production faster and to make those projects do more interesting, more dynamic sorts of things. Here in lesson 1, I'm going to introduce you to the concepts and benefits of jQuery at a high level, and we'll go over some basic syntax towards the end of the lesson. We'll continue syntax in lesson 2. I'll show you how easy it is with jQuery to add those little touches, the little flourishes that make a website really stand out. In lesson 3, we're going to dive into the vast world of jQuery plugins. If there's something that you're trying to do, odds are pretty good that somewhere out there's a plugin that can help you do it. We'll be focusing on doing a photo slideshow with a carousel plugin. The reason we're focusing on the slideshow motif is that at some point in your career, you are guaranteed to come across a project with a need for a slideshow or a carousel. They're on the front page of every corporate website out there. They're very common. And there are other things you can do with a carousel besides just a photo slideshow. So we'll touch on some of those too. But it's important for me to show you that thanks to jQuery and thanks to its plugin ecosystem, this is a 5-minute requirement on a project, not a 5-hour requirement. In lesson 4, we're going to continue our look at plugins by showing you how to take code that you don't ever want to look at again because it's quirky or complicated or took you a long time to bang out all the details. And you can wrap it up in your own plugin and distribute it to your team. Like if it's something that's going to be reused across your application a lot, like a navigation bar that's just a little too dynamic for a simple server-side include, you can wrap it up in a jQuery plugin, distribute it out to your team. They won't have to worry about all the quirks in the code or worry about getting it wrong. They're not going to have to copy paste it, which is great because copy pasting is a surefire way to ensure that something's going to go wrong later on with your project. And you're going to look like a hero. In lesson 5, which I'm calling introspective dynamism, I'm going to show you how jQuery gives you the tools to react to your user's actions on the fly instead of waiting for a server call. We're going to be doing that in the context of form validation, which is prosaic but very practical. And finally, in lesson 6, we're going to turn to external dynamism. The internet is just a vast world of information, right? That's the whole point. And a lot of that information is structured in such a way that you can pull it into your web page and use it any way you want to. And once you got a handle on updating your page on the fly, just a whole other world of dynamism becomes available to you. I'd like to touch briefly on the very minimal software requirements for this course. First off, you need a browser. I'll be using Google Chrome. It's got really impressive built-in developer tools, which let you look at the structure of your web page, lets you look at the code as it runs. It's really easy to use and it's really powerful. So I'll be using that and showing you how. If you're already familiar with something else like Firebug or Firefox, feel free to use that instead. You should be able to follow along no problem. But if you're not familiar with something already, then please make sure you have a copy of Chrome installed on your machine. Second, not in this lesson, but starting next lesson, you'll need an IDE. That's an integrated development environment. Basically, it's a fancy text editor for your code. Helps with syntax and things. Make sure you got semicolons in the right place. I personally use Sublime Text 2. Everyone I know uses it. It's awesome. It's super speedy, very flexible, and it's free for a trial period. So again, if you don't have an IDE that you're familiar with, then please download Sublime Text 2 in time for next class. And if you do have one you like, then cheers, carry on with it. And so without further ado, Lesson 1. Welcome to the thing that you're here to learn about. jQuery's tagline is write less, do more. And you're going to find yourself writing a lot less and doing a lot more. Per jQuery's website, it is a fast, small, and feature-rich JavaScript library, helps you out with a ton of different things, works across a ton of different browsers, and it's changed the way that millions of people write JavaScript. And that's all true advertising, especially the last bit. jQuery has really taken over the web by virtue of its simplicity, extensibility, and just general awesomeness. At its core, jQuery is an easy way to do a lot. Whether you're building a personal portfolio for yourself, or whether you have a boss or a client that needs a blog for the corporate site, you're going to be using jQuery to really improve the quality of the output and the speed with which you get there. Well, okay, but how? The first way, this is probably the most important way in terms of the amount of time it's going to save you. It's also the first way that you're going to forget about. In a couple of years, you're not going to have any memory of how much jQuery is helping you out, and that's a good thing. jQuery helps you avoid annoyance. There's so much code in plain old JavaScript and HTML that's a pain to write. jQuery takes things that you're going to do often, and it makes them really easy. Let's take a look at an example. Here's a generic snippet of HTML for a generic web page. We got a header at the top with a big splashy title. We got a body section with some elements scattered around. Now let's say we need to, for whatever reason, change the text in the header, which means that we need to get that element. Now here's how you do it in plain old JavaScript. Document.getElementById, whatever the ID is, .innerText equals, whatever. And that's not bad. That's not terrible. I mean, the fact that ID is capitalized differently here than anywhere else in the known universe may have tripped me up a couple of times when I was a beginner. I'll cop to it. And the fact that it's inner text is a little weird, but whatever, it's not so bad. Here it is in jQuery. It's a little bit shorter, a little more concise. There are a few odd little things that you have to remember. So there it is. Now, let's say you have to select all of the elements in your document that have a particular class. You need to change their color. You need to make it pop out the user a little bit or something. Now, there is no getElementByClass method in plain old JavaScript. There is something that you can use in brand new browsers. I think it just got put in late last year or this year, and which jQuery sort of pushed to have in there, by the way, which you can use, but you can't be sure that everyone that comes to your website is going to have it because it's brand new. So if you're going to build this thing yourself, you're really going to have to do it. Now, what does that method look like? Well, you're going to have to recursively comb through every single element of every single element in every single part of your document, which means you're going to have to know what the heck recursion is. You're going to have enough experience with string searches to know that if you don't do it the right way, you're going to risk getting back false positives because strings can be contained within strings. And you're going to have this big chunk of code that you wrote while you were annoyed, because it's annoying to write, which you're not going to feel like revisiting. It's probably going to have some bugs in it, and just why bother? Because here it is in jQuery. One incredibly simple command handles all the stuff that you don't feel like dealing with. And the code that does it in jQuery wasn't written by you in 5 minutes when you wished you were doing something else. It was written by thousands of developers all over the planet who are all super proud about making it as fast and optimized as they possibly can. They're going to bang on it a million times. They're going to make sure there's no bugs in it. They're going to take that brand new super speedy native method that I mentioned before that browsers have finally put in, and they're going to detect it, and they're going to use it if it's there. It's all stuff that you just don't have to know about any of it, and it's great. So jQuery helps you avoid annoyance. Whether you're selecting an element by ID, again, not that bad, but it helps a little bit. Whether you're selecting an element by class, and this is where it starts to get crucial and really wonderful. Let's say you're doing something like a simple animation. Let's say you're moving something from over here to 20 pixels over there over the course of a second. And there's math in there that you just don't feel like doing. You have to set up a bunch of timers to fire it off, and it's you just don't want to deal with it. jQuery makes it quick and easy. And then there's Ajax. Ajax is last decade's, sort of buzzword for reaching out to the internet, grabbing a document, pulling it back and using it in your web page without reloading. It's a great capability, but it's annoying to deal with. And jQuery wraps it up in a nice, simple API that we'll be touching lightly on in lesson 6. Next, and this is the second most important thing that jQuery does for you, jQuery hides browser issues. There are just so many browser issues. It's better than it used to be, guys, but it's not great. We're looking at old versions of IE. You can't control who comes to your website most of the time. So you got, Internet Explorer 6, that's still around. We've got IE7, got IE8. We've got compatibility modes that fail over depending on whether you've got the doc type set up correctly. You just don't want to deal with all of that. So jQuery in a lot of cases will wrap up those differences and hide them completely from you. Then at the other end of the spectrum, there's new browsers. Right now is the best time in history to be in the web market. Things are just moving so quickly. But that means that folks coming to your website aren't guaranteed to have the latest and greatest of every technology. So that means if you want to use some shiny new feature like CSS animation or like local storage, you need to design a fallback. You need a way so that if the user comes by without the most up-to-date browser, your website doesn't just completely fall apart. And jQuery in a lot of cases will wrap up those new features with internal, hidden kind of best practice fallbacks that you don't have to worry about. Something as simple as "I'm not kidding, when is my page ready?" is handled differently across different browsers. There are little differences and quirks between them, even between ones that look similar. jQuery wraps that all up in one simple, reliable event that fires at a reliable time across all browsers, and it's great. And Ajax, especially old versions of IE, where Ajax just worked completely differently. And there are weird little things like there's this version of Chrome for Android phones where the Ajax system just throws a different status code in this weird little edge case than every other version of the browser. And that's stuff you don't want to have to memorize and deal with. jQuery wraps most of that up and makes it so you don't have to deal with them. This is the third thing that jQuery does for you. It takes code that is legitimately sophisticated. And thanks to the magic of abstraction and jQuery's awesome streamlined abstract syntax, it wraps it all up for you in a way that's incredibly easy to use. For example, do you remember the linear animations that I was talking about a couple minutes ago? Those are annoying to work with, like I said, but they also look bad. If you want something that looks natural, you're going to need it to start slow, speed up, then slow back down at the end like these guys are doing. But then you're not just talking about linear animations anymore, you're talking about something called Bezier curves. And the code for Bezier curves is just, I have no idea what's going on here. And I don't want to, right? I don't have enough space in my brain for all of this, so forget about it. What you want is you want someone with a PhD in something that I can't even pronounce to go and write this code for you and then wrap it up and make it super simple to use. And that's it. It's about that simple. This is a demo from themeforest.net. We're not actually going to be going over this demo in this course, but after a couple of lessons, you're going to be able to go out to the internet, track down this tutorial, and add this awesome, parallax animation effect to your blog just this easily. Now, this is it's a more kind of aesthetic kind of sophistication. This is a slideshow where the challenge is to take these things that are difficult to fit together and make them look seamless, make them look like it was really easy. Now, I built one of these back in the day, pre-jQuery, and it's complex. It's tough to make these things move together seamlessly and all show up at the right time. But now all you have to worry about is listing your images and making a call. Now there's a widget that we're going to check in on again later in this lesson, and then we're going to take a real good close look at it in lesson 3. I'm going to teach you all about it. So jQuery makes hard things easy. It wraps up complex math, it wraps up complex widgets, and of course it wraps up Ajax. Now the last thing that jQuery does for you is everything else. It's got a really well done plugin architecture and a really massive plugin ecosystem. So if you have a problem, chances are that jQuery has a solution. For example, if you need some really well done plug and play, user interface widgets with, easy drag and drop. I mean, drag and drop is just really touchy to build yourself. There's a plugin called jQuery UI. Comes with a ton of prefab widgets. And, that are this easy to put together. We'll be taking a little bit of a closer look at this in lesson 3. Now, here's this guy again, the slideshow from earlier. It's actually a plugin, but along with doing simple slideshows, so I think both of these effects were inspired by the big drop blocks from Super Mario Brothers. So in proper homage, here's your code. This plugin just kind of makes all the different kind of carousel work that you might need to do really easy. You just include the plugin, you make some easy declarative calls like this, and you're good to go. And now that's kind of a small example. jQuery plugins can be massive too. jQuery Mobile is an entire platform, basically for building mobile websites. Really, like, you build your entire website in it. It really takes over in a way that gives you easy access to this kind of mobile, app feeling features. And they can range all the way down to the very small. JTweets is a very focused plugin that I wrote that does absolutely nothing but reach out and fetch tweets for you. Now, it's still fairly complicated code. It embodies a lot of research that I did into how the Twitter API works. But that's all stuff I don't need to know anymore, because anytime I want tweets in my web page, which we're going to touch on in lesson 6, then this is all you need to do. So jQuery extends. Whether you're looking for a library of great user interface widgets, whether you're looking for an entire mobile platform to build your website on, or whether you're looking for something focused, like some kind of specialized Ajax. So why are we talking about jQuery instead of something else, right? Where did jQuery come from? There were a lot of forces at work in the middle of the last decade that meant that something was going to emerge to kind of handle browser weirdnesses and to start innovating where the browsers weren't innovating at the time. But why jQuery? Well, one reason is its simple and elegant syntax, which I'm going to show you a little bit of in a couple of minutes. But I think you're going to really appreciate the syntax in the next couple of lessons. Now, inside that syntax, you've got a lot of power. The jQuery syntax really lends itself to abstracting complexity away behind these really simple declarative commands. And thanks to whatever witchcraft, gave John Resig the foresight to build this incredible plugin architecture, loads of people have built stuff for it. So it's got this giant extensible ecosystem. And of course, there are competitors. Like there's Prototype. I know that Apple uses that on its front page on apple.com. So that can't be too shabby. MooTools, that exists. YUI came out of Yahoo real early on, and they've been iterating on it for a very long time. Bootstrap is out of Twitter really recently, actually. That's pretty fresh. And these are good, right? They're solid. But none of them have really taken over the web the way that jQuery has. And that means that nothing has really taken over the job market like jQuery either, by the way. Another reason to learn jQuery is that employers really like it. I jumped on a popular jobs site yesterday, pulled up some numbers. So let's see. Jobs that want Prototype, 59. All right, that's not bad. MooTools was 24. Yahoo was 86. That's solid. Yahoo must be hiring. And then Bootstrap was 0. That's tough. Bootstrap is pretty cool. It deserves a little better than that. But jQuery was 1,100 jobs. That's a couple orders of magnitude, over anyone else on here. So in conclusion, what can jQuery do for you? At its most basic, it's going to go out and get elements and let you do stuff to them. It does widgets really easily. It does, dynamicness, changing your page on the fly really easily. It extends really easily. You can grab one of the million different plugins from the internet and use it. You can wrap your own plugin and pass it out to your team. And key point, since it's so popular, it helps you find a job. jQuery helps you write less and do more. So I'm going to take the last few minutes of the lesson, and we're going to go over some introductory jQuery selector syntax.